Thursday, November 3rd. I'm your host, Josh Grossman. With me, as always, Landon Rush, Jeff Hahn, and this is Fantasy Inception. Boys, how are you guys doing?
My team's falling apart, so not good.
It is falling apart.
Fast.
Jeff is making. You guys are heading in two different directions. Jeff's on the uptick. All right, so let's start. We're gonna go over trade deadline happenings, the ones that we didn't cover last week, and then we'll get into the Rankum and week 8 review and all that good stuff. For the trade deadline stuff, I'm going to give you guys the fantasy impactful, potentially impactful trades, and you guys give me your sort of quick take on the impact both in redraft and dynasty, both in terms of the players that are leaving, as well as any impact to those who are staying on the team that is moving someone away. So the first one is Claypool to the Bears. Any hot takes from either of you guys, long term or short term on this one?
Gio. All right. Yeah, no, I'll jump in here and just say that I think it's. I'm not a Claypool fan. I mean, it looked this year a little bit like he's been running around lost in the Pittsburgh organization there. So, but he's got a lot of talent. So I think they need a big body receiver, and he kind of fits that mold well. So giving up a second-round pick seems pretty high, in my opinion, considering what Pittsburgh is usually able to do with second-round wide receiver picks through past drafts. So you just know that they're going to go out and draft another guy who's going to be Antonio Brown or Juju Smith-Schuster when he was good, and just all these other guys that have continually fallen down the line. So that being said, but I do think that this will be good for Fields. We'll see how quickly he can get up to speed with the offense to get him on the field and just to have another kind of a target out there. And again, it helps Mooney. So Fields will, Claypool would essentially play the X, which would allow Mooney to then move around the field a little bit more. And given that he's kind of the smaller frame wide receiver speedster, I think, it only opens him up a little bit more if he
Landon, agree?
Yeah, I agree with everything Gio said. I saw something, I'm pretty sure it was true, that, instead of giving up the second round pick for Claypool, the Bears could, I think they passed on George Pickens twice, if I'm not mistaken. So they could have just drafted Pickens and it would have been fine.
Big body receiver for sure.
I think in long term, it's great for the Bears to have that another good receiver besides next to Mooney. And then for Pittsburgh, it's good for Pickens. It's good for Deontay Johnson. So I think that's more this year in redraft. But
we didn't talk about that. You're absolutely right, Landon. I think that this offense couldn't necessarily sustain 4 wideouts, right? With four wideouts back there. Yeah, with them considering Muth. So given that, I think that this is a good situation for Deontay Johnson and George Pickens and Freiermuth.
Yep. What about Hines to Buffalo?
It's say for him, it's a neutral kind of move. You just can't trust any running back in Buffalo. Josh Allen is the number one running back there that takes the goal line runs, and he passes a ton. So Singletary is still the main guy there. So I don't think it's the greatest move for Hines.
Nope, I love this. I think this is just an amazing move by the Buffalo Bills organization. Nyheim Hines is super explosive, and he is really a great pass catcher of the ball. So he's going to fit really well into this offense. I don't think Buffalo ever even wanted. You can clearly see that they wanted a pass catching back in the way that they drafted with James Cook. And so that's going to open up a lot more plays in their offense. I don't think they're really willing to open it up to James Cook right now. Plus, he's an undersized guy compared to Hines. Singletary is an undersized guy as well, and that's why I don't think they want him to be kind of this 3-down role that we've seen out of him this year. So I do believe Hines comes in, is able to cut into Singletary's workload and be that 3rd-down role, pass-catching option. And I do believe that him and Josh Allen are going to gel really quick. I heard that one thing he always says before he steps on the field, which is just to kind of show his heart, is if I die, I die before every punt return that he receives.
I heard that as well. Yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy.
I mean, this just to go show that this guy is just like football, has heart, wants to play hard on every single play, gives it all. So, and then as far as the Indianapolis piece is concerned, I'm a little concerned about Zach Moss. Now with Hines in the backfield, before it was Singletary, and we saw some explosiveness out of Deion Jackson, but we always kind of knew that was going to be Jonathan Taylor's backfield. I could see, like, Zach Moss is a big frame, big body guy, so like he could handle the workload and take away from Deion Jackson to make this more of a 50-50, 60-40 type of split, 50-50 type of split. So I would be concerned about that.
Well, Taylor's
and I think it could potentially hurt Taylor's value. I mean, we're seeing him get banged up a little bit. So I mean, I talked a little bit last week how I think Reich is a little bit under the hot seat here. He's trying to pull strings right now that makes him hold his job. And so I do believe that they need to continue to get Jonathan Taylor the ball. That's their best chance of winning games. But you know, with him being so dinged up, maybe they might look at their second RB now in Moss to carry a little bit more load.
All right, moving on. Edmonds is kind of a throw-in piece. He goes to Denver. Does his value go up there, or could you see him taking over sort of the vacancy there? Or is it still going to be Melvin Gordon?
No, it's a mess, that backfield. It's disgusting.
But does that give him an opportunity, or is he not showing you enough?
I think Edmonds will play more in Denver than he was in Miami. He was really just not anything at Miami. I don't know what happened there. They gave him a decent contract for a running back. He was one of the first signings of free agency. So they wanted him, and just it didn't work out for whatever reason. So I think he'll get some playing time in Denver. I think he'll kind of take over the Mike Boone role that Mike Boone's on IR. So it's you got Melvin Gordon, Latavius Murray, Chase Edmonds. It's just, it's for fantasy. It's hands off.
It's gross.
Yeah. Last one, and this is dynasty only at this point. Calvin Ridley.
You got to talk about Jeff Wilson Jr. Going then to Miami, because I do think that's
right. Thank you.
I do think that's important because essentially he came from that offense, like when it was coached in San Francisco. So basically, the Dolphins are getting a guy that knows their system, is able to step right in. Now, I do believe that Mostert continues to be the guy, but if he goes down for whatever reason, I think immediately Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be able to step into that offense and just have a lot of success, given his familiarity with the offense and coach. So they're kind of getting their guy again, I feel like.
Yep. And Mostert, like you said, has been fragile in the past, so it's a good move by them. Calvin Ridley to the Jags. Predict. Give me your look into your crystal ball. What this time next year? What are we saying about Ridley?
I don't think he's on the field.
No?
I think he's on the field. I don't know. It could just
be
all over the place.
So his suspension is for the rest of this year. He can come back next year. But you think talent-wise, there's maybe a question mark after this long being off the field?
Super talented, but I mean, I'm not going to predict. I have no idea what to say at this point. I mean, we haven't seen
that is what our job is.
No, it's not. It's not our
it's
job.
All about prediction.
What's your prediction on Ridley, Grossman?
I think he's going to look really bad for 3/4 of the year, and then towards the end of next year. Towards the end of next year, there's going to be that hint that maybe it's coming together, and 2024 might be a solid year for him. But I think the Jags had to do it because otherwise they have to really overpay to get receivers onto that team. So I think it was a good move by them.
Yeah.
Did I miss any other? Were there any other trades fantasy wise?
Yeah, I forgot like the most important one.
Which one?
TJ Hawkinson to the Vikings.
Oh yes, thank you.
That is a big one.
Where do you think this? He's always had the talent, but the fact that he was not able to get targets. They talk about receivers as the talented receivers earn targets, and he never, even when people were missing from that team, he'd have the one game earlier this year, but there were plenty of times last year where he should have been getting a ton of targets and never got them. Do you think that changes in Minnesota, or is this just going to be, 4 receptions, 50 yards?
I think you can count on him for 4 receptions for 50 yards every single week. I'd say more like 4 for 40 kind of. But yeah, I think and then you'll have the occasional touchdown game and you'll have the occasional big games. I mean, this is a team that obviously has a lot of weapons. And when teams are scheming now, they're going to be looking at, just like they already do, okay, how do we stop Cook? How do we stop Jefferson? But now they have this before they'd have Thielen as kind of that third option, but now they have a fourth option in Hawkinson. So I think it's an outstanding move for the Vikings, who are clearly trying to go for it all this year. So I think it's going to continue to be volatile for him. I mean, just like any tight end role, he's not going to be a Kelsey or an Andrews, given the success of Cook and Jefferson, but he certainly will. And Cousins is a great quarterback. Not great quarterback, but he's a serviceable quarterback enough to where he can get him the ball consistently enough when he's open.
Okay. Did I miss any others?
Christian McCaffrey to the 49ers?
We talked about that already.
Oh, okay.
Last week, yeah. All right, let's talk about the rank 'em. So we switched the format. We did rank them. It was just the 3 of us last week. As a reminder,
Bradley Chubb, you talk about Bradley Chubb and his role now.
No, we're not talking
on the defensive side for Miami. No, okay.
Right. No, although that's an exciting Miami's.
What about Roquan? Roquan going to Baltimore. It looked like Chicago was acquiring picks, and then they trade them all away.
Hey, super exciting teams. Fantasy, not.
I'll tell you what, though, Baltimore, like that team seems to be on the rise. Like it was one of those teams where you're kind of not really giving them a whole lot of credit.
Bateman's gone for the year.
Duvernay steps right in, I think. He's had a lot of success with this year. He's fast, man.
Not the same threat.
We'll see.
Okay.
They're a run first team anyways. Doesn't matter. I mean, they're not trying to.
All right,
Isaiah we'll talk about him later, too. All right, go on.
Okay. We got to keep going. Week 8 results. So the max, we ranked 5 QBs, 5 receivers, 5 running backs. The max points, if you picked perfectly 1 through 5 in each of these categories, is 11 points. So keep that in mind. So for QBs, we all sucked and got 2 points each. I looked at Fantasy Pros Experts consensus ranking.
1 point. Tell me they got 1 point.
No, they got 4 points. But again, this is like
I just gotta copy them.
They've been doing it longer.
So not much different. RB's Landon flourished here. He got 10 points out of 11. The only thing he got wrong was he picked his 2 and 3 should have been flipped. I got 7 points and Jeff got 5, so we all did a lot better. The experts from Fantasy Point Pros also got 10 points. They picked exactly what Landon had picked.
Oh,
so Landon did a little cheating. And then wide receivers, we went back to kind of sucking. I got 3 points, and you guys got 2 points. The Fantasy Pro experts, this was as of Sunday, so they got a little bit of a benefit there, the experts, but they got 6 points. So between the 3 of us, Landon, you are in the lead with 14 points. I have 12, and Jeff is the loser again at 9. Do you want to do your penalty now, Jeff?
Yeah, I'll just do it right now, guys.
That'd be great.
Welcome to Mustache Movember. Mustache Movember. We will not shave this.
Nice. Okay, so at the end of
we will not shave this caterpillar for the rest of the month.
Yeah, all right. At the end of the month, I expect a mustache. Week
You'll see
9.
it. You guys will get the privilege to watch it blossom before your eyes every single week.
I don't know if privilege is the right word, but sure. Week 9, we got 3 viewers who submitted their rankings. So next week we'll be able to talk about all of those, and one of them may have to come onto the show for the penalty. But let's go over our own rankings. So the QBs that we were ranking were Cousins, Lawrence, Rodgers, Fields, and Murray. Landon, do you want to walk us through your ranking of those 5 guys?
Sure, I would love to, Josh. So first I went with Kyler Murray against Seattle.
Why?
Okay.
Why?
I just think he has the highest ceiling with Hopkins being there. Even though Seattle's defense has been pretty good as of late, I went with Murray there at the top.
Okay.
I did go Rodgers, which is a little shaky here. So he has not been great, but the matchup against Detroit is fantastic. They can't stop anything. So I went with Rodgers there. Then I went with Justin Fields, who's been on fire lately against Miami. He's running the ball a ton, so his floor is pretty high. Then Kirk Cousins at Washington. I mean, Cousins, it's just, he does what he does. I don't think he's going to light the world on fire, but it's going to be a solid game for him. And then Trevor Lawrence, even though he's got a great matchup against Vegas, he doesn't look that good. So I went with him last of the bunch.
Jeff, how did yours compare to Landon's?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, I got Murray number 1, Cousins number 2. So I do like that matchup this week. Fields, who's just been killing it on the ground lately. I mean, we're going to get an extra touchdown out of him, it seems like, every week. So give me some Fields action. Rodgers in a good matchup, like Landon said, and then Lawrence is the 5th spot.
Similar.
Another good matchup, but I don't know. I'm not buying into Lawrence right now. I can't get behind that.
A few weeks ago, let's rewind the tape.
I spent all my money on him. I know. I thought it was going to be great, and I saw something that was really interesting. I think who was it? I don't know who it was. Maybe Pat. What's the guy's name from ESPN? Pat Yates. Pat Fields.
Field Yates.
Field Yates. Yeah. He posted something. I believe it was him. That was like the. Gardner Minshew was elite talent when they had him, and they didn't necessarily realize it. So basically, the numbers between him and Lawrence at this very same time of the season are pretty nearly like the same, except for Minshew had thrown for like 20 more touchdowns, and then what Lawrence has, and they had a QB rating of it was 30 points higher, so he's like a 94.1, where Lawrence is currently at a 68 or something like that. So pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Minshew also, we've seen him since then, and he's been bad. So
he had a pretty good game in Philadelphia that one time where he got the start. I know he got the win, but
my rankings: Murray, Fields, Rodgers against Detroit. That was the toughest one for me to rank, just because, like you guys said, Detroit is terrible. Rodgers does have Lazard back, but they just seem out of sync. Cousins against Washington, and then Lawrence against Vegas. I think all of these guys are going to be very, very close in terms of the points output from them. RBs next. I think we'll probably be pretty similar here. I will start off with my rankings. I went Kamara versus Baltimore. I'm sorry, let me say the 5 running backs first. Etienne, Pierce, Aaron Jones, Sanders, and Kamara. I'm going to try in the future not to have any Thursday night players in these rankings, but we all submitted our rankings before tonight's game. So I'm going to go Kamara number 1 against Baltimore, just because he's on fire and they don't have many other weapons. Etienne versus Vegas, same reason, and Vegas is just a bad defense. Aaron Jones against Detroit, same rationale. Sanders versus Houston. My concern with that game, although it's not looking at it like it, at least last time I checked the score, was that Sanders would have a good half, but then if they were just rushing Houston, everyone just sits. And then Pierce versus Philly, just figured that was probably the toughest matchup, and Pierce didn't show a ton last week. Got kind of lucky with a touchdown, but otherwise he had a pretty bad week. Jeff, you want to give us your ranking of the RBs?
Yes, sir. So I got ETN number 1, who's just been on a tear. So I got to go with him there. Aaron Jones, I think he's really the most relied upon. I mean, going to be the most relied upon guy in this offense, given kind of where we are with the wide receiver. So I think let's secure up a win if you're Green Bay, whether that means we give Aaron Jones the ball 30 times, and 15 of those might be through the air as well, just checkdowns. But he's just going to feast on a bad Detroit defense. I had Pierce as number 3. I'll speak to that in just a little second here about why. Sanders is number 4. I was on the same page as you were there, Grossman. I thought they were going to just smoke Houston, and they were going to be left with Boston Scott or Kenny Gainwell for the second half running. And then I got Kamara actually as the 5th spot. I know it's opposite of you quite significantly, but the reason being is I think the addition of Roquan Smith really is going to have an impact here. And I also believe that New Orleans has very limited options with just Olave and Kamara at this point. So I just look for them to stack the box and shut down one of their top weapons and really force Dalton to throw the ball.
All right, well, we'll see how that works.
So as far as Pierce goes, I wanted to give this nugget. I know I did share this with you, but I'll share it with our fans as well. I thought it was pretty good. It's interesting with Philly. So prior to losing Jordan Davis, the D-line was average or only allowing 3.4 yards per rush. But now he is currently out indefinitely. So whenever he comes back, great. But we don't really know. Currently, for the last 3 games, they've averaged 130 yards rushing on the ground, which has averaged 6.1 yards per carry. So I was really excited when I saw that, thinking that Pierce was in line for what could be a decent day, given the volume that he was going to see in today's game, being kind of the only show in town with Cook's not playing. And so, yeah, I figured if Houston wanted to keep it close, they were going to have to be successful running the ball, and I think we're seeing it a little bit today. I don't know where Sanders and Pierce stack up, but the last I checked, I know Pierce did eclipse 90 yards already.
Yep. Landon, did you give your
103 on the ground right now.
Oh, crack the 100 mark. Yeah, that doesn't make my Pierce pick pretty.
Well, he hasn't fallen in the
confident
end zone.
about it.
He hasn't fallen in the end zone, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our top, we're pretty different with the RBs here. I went Aaron Jones at number 1, just because I think, everything that you guys have said. Just I think we have the possibility of the Aaron Jones blow up game that he does every so often. I think that can happen this week. Then I went Kamara versus Baltimore. He's been on fire lately, like you said, Grossman. ETN. Then I went him 3rd. He's also been on fire. Then I went Sanders and then Pierce.
All right. Last one, receivers. Olave versus Baltimore.
Oh, okay. I thought I was going to go first. Sorry.
Oh, no. I'm just giving the 5.
That's what I realized. Yeah.
Olave versus Baltimore. Keenan Allen. This was, again, last week that I did these rankings, so obviously he's going to be at the bottom of everyone's because I don't think he's going to play. Waddle versus Chicago. Gabe Davis against the Jets, and Hopkins against Seattle. Jeff, give us your 5.
Yeah, I got to go Hopkins number 1 here, even though, like Landon said, Seattle is playing better as of late here on the defensive side. But 22 catches, 262 yards over the last 2 weeks. That's number 1 wide receiver across all fantasy football. So Seattle also plays zone defense 70% of the time. That's really one of the highest in all of the NFL right now. So Hopkins really isn't like a world beater by any means. So I just look for him to find the soft spots in this zone D and just pick it apart. He'll get probably 10 catches plus this week and easily eclipse 100 yards, in my opinion. I got number 2. I got Waddle. All right.
Yep.
If he faces Kyler Gordon, he's just going to feast. And no Roquan there now as well. Like, this is just going to be a great matchup. Certainly we could see Tyreek Hill, though, playing out of the slot. So whoever plays out of the slot is just going to have a day against this Bears defense, and I'm hoping it's Waddle. Olave is third. Again, we know he's kind of the only wide receiver target in town in this offense, and I just like him better than the next two guys. Gabe Davis, fourth, and I don't think Keenan Allen's going to play, so that's going to be a donut on the score sheet. So that's going to be 5 points for me right there, right? Guaranteed? No, it's only going to be 1 point, right? Because I get it right in the right position.
Keenan is 1 point.
Yeah.
I'm going to go quickly because it's the exact same as Jeff's. Gabe Davis was the hardest one.
We all three had the same exact.
Did we all have the same?
Yeah, I have the same.
Okay. Gabe Davis was the hardest for me because I don't if Keenan wasn't, if he was playing, Gabe Davis feels like the player that you either have to put at the top, number 1, or number 5, because he's either just going to blow up or get you like 3 points. So, all right. Well, we'll see how the three of us do there. Let's look at last week's matchups.
We talked about this, but the Green Bay corners are good. Like, they could easily look to shut them down, but a little bit. But it's the Buffalo offense, man. They're just too high power, too explosive. They're going to have some success out there.
Buffalo's playing the Jets
defense.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Everything you said is correct. It's Jets. Yeah. Yeah, they've been playing really good.
They've been playing very well. Sauce Gardner. Yeah, we'll talk about that later, though.
Yep.
Oh.
First matchup. First place, Crispy continues to win. Landon's Child Please gets decimated here.
Woo.
Jeff Jacobs for Crispy came down to earth a bit, but Vegas just looks terrible all around. Are you worried about Jacobs and has he just had too large of a workload? Is it catching up to him, or was this just one game, the whole offense was off?
No, I think this is one game, the whole offense is off. Sometimes you have this when these West Coast teams have to travel east. You'll find that there's a little bit of a lag in their play, and that's something you can maybe take advantage of on a little a book somewhere. But no, I'm not worried about him. Jacobs has certainly been the guy. He's up for a contract at the end of this year, or a contract extension. However, Vegas wants to play it, or it'll go out to the free agent market. So, you can see it every year with these guys when they're kind of due for a contract. It just seems like they have one of the best years, and what happens after that is just a whole other thing, right? Like whether they continue to play or all of a sudden the injuries start popping up. But for whatever reason, when these guys have a contract extension that's coming up, they seem to really
more motivated.
A little bit more motivated. Maybe that little twinge or whatever isn't acting up or flaring up nearly as much as when they're in year 3 of their contract or something like that, right?
Yep.
So this guy's trying to get paid, and I look for him to continue to have success. Obviously, the workload does open him up for injury. It's the one concern, maybe a little bit, but he's looked great this season, continue to roll.
Yeah, he has. Landon, not much you could do here. You just got beat down. You did make a trade yesterday. Do you want to walk us through your thinking with that trade?
Yeah, actually, Rolance came to me with that offer, so I didn't go out. Sorry. Well, yeah. So I got rid of Christian Kirk and obtained Cortland Sutton. So, my thinking behind it is that my team needs some help right now. We are going in the wrong direction. And I just think even though Sutton has had his last 3 games have been pretty freaking horrible, I just think that his ceiling is higher than Kirk's. I just believe in, even though, again, Russell Wilson hasn't been that great. I just think the upside of Sutton, I think, is higher than Kirk. So I just had to give it a shot.
Okay.
They need to somewhat replace what I lost when Jamar Chase just fucked me over.
Yeah,
it's not even like they haven't even ruled him out. They've ruled him out of this week, but they haven't put him on IR, so that's a positive sign.
That was a plus, yes, for sure.
Yeah, he's not going to play for a while, but yeah. All right, next matchup.
Dr. Grossman in the house.
That's right.
He saw the injury take place.
Look at right now. What week did he get injured in? Just opening up.
Last week, right?
Week 7.
Week 7?
Week 7.
So he won't play until week 13.
Oof.
You might as well put him on the IR then if that's the case.
They should have. But what is it, 54th man on your team? I mean, you're not missing that much by not having that guy. Next matchup, Matt keeps going with his win over Bryden team. Bryden was pretty upset after we shat on his team. I think Jeff was mostly you shitting on his team last week, but he didn't come to play this week. So do you guys have anything more to say about Bryden's ineptitude, inability to manage? Anything else?
I'll leave that to Geoff. Nope, I'm fine.
I've said enough. I mean, this team is not good. Like, I mean, he did make a good move. He made a good move in backing up with to Mark Andrews with Isaiah Likely. So I think that honestly, that's one position. And you don't normally see a tight end handcuff, but in that Baltimore offense, that is certainly one guy that you would want to secure up because Isaiah Likely looks like the real deal when he's going to be kind of full time. But until then, it's Mark Andrews' show. So that's a good move, especially since they're going on Monday night and you're going to be kind of uncertain going into that. I actually went out and looked today. I was like, I wonder if he's out there because I am in need of a tight end. And with Kittle being out this week on a bye, and I was maybe just going to take a chance because if he was playing, he's going to be a top guy and it. So, but he wasn't. That was a great move, a good pickup by him.
Yep.
I know he's trying to deal Allen for just obnoxious amounts, and I'm not interested. So, other than that, he's got to look to do something. Devontae Adams, he clearly is still struggling a little bit with this. I mean, he had a terrible game, obviously, against New Orleans, where we thought he might do pretty well, but maybe he's still suffering a little bit from what I understand from this flu bug that he had. We'll see if that carries over into this week. Hopefully it was just a 1 week thing, but yeah. His defense isn't carrying him either, right? When you only get him, 11 points, and then getting the occasional 27 from the defense.
Yeah, I'd take that.
Landon, what do you think about Devontae? Was this just him being sick all week and probably not in the right place to play, or nothing?
I absolutely. From what the reports were, he had a bad case of the flu, and everyone thinks you can just have a Michael Jordan flu game and have put up amazing numbers, but it's very possible he just wasn't feeling good, and that could absolutely affect his play, and I think it did this week.
Yep. Jeff, do you think we talked about Baltimore just briefly? They have a bye next week. Both Gus and Mark Andrews are injured. Is your gut take that they rest those guys this week so that they have 2 weeks before they have to play again, or you think they'll end up playing them if they can?
It's really hard for me to just kind of speculate on what these guys are going to do with injuries. I'm just saying, I'm just saying it's hard for me to say, if I was a fantasy owner, would I want them to do that? Maybe. No, they won't. You don't know that, so you can't go out there and say that. But here's what I'm going to say. Certainly, it would be a good time to do it, given that they're going into a bye week, so that could be a good decision for them. But as far as the fantasy perspective goes, I would just say, have a backup plan in place. And Bryden certainly does in this case, where he picked up Isaiah Likely. So he has Andrews. If you have Andrews, look to pick up Likely, have him to go, or at least have another tight end out there. I doubt Taysom Hill's available, given that that's the Monday night matchup. But, that would be something that you could maybe go to. And then as far as Edwards, I think we'll talk a little bit about – you asked me a question about him, so I'll talk about him later when you're talking about your lineup.
Let me ask this question. So, Andrews hasn't been playing that well lately, and he has been banged up. So if Andrews is active, are you just – that's who you're going with, or is there any chance that you go Likely over Andrews?
I wouldn't. I mean, if Andrews is healthy and he's active, I'm playing him. I mean, that's what I drafted him for. I'm not going to take a chance on a guy that doesn't get out there if Andrews is healthy.
Landon, you differ at all?
No, I mean, I was just asking the question to ask, but no, I would go with Andrews. You can't.
I have no opinion. It would be really difficult to sit Andrews and then see him blow up.
Yeah.
Next one, Bino scored. I think this may have been the highest score of the season so far, with 193 in a row. Just tough luck. He had a pretty good week. I think everyone had a pretty good week scoring wise. but went up against the high score. Nothing. No questions on Moreau's team here. Are we about to see, just because, I think we've always talked about having a lot of depth, but he's had a ton of injuries. He still has some. Bateman's gone for the year. Keenan Allen's gone. Waller keeps dealing with injuries. But there's a lot of talent here. So do you guys expect that we're going to see a winning streak from this team moving forward, just because of the talent there in ETN, Kamara, Amon, St. Brown, Hurts, all those guys?
Here you, Lynn, and you want this, or you want me to take it?
Go for it.
Question both.
Yeah, so Hurts, obviously been great all year, so that's awesome. He's clearly exceeding expectations, at least my expectations. I still had him, top 10, but he's playing top 5. ETN is certainly just a man now that has no competition in that backfield for touches, so he's just going to continue to be the workhorse there. Finally saw a good game out of Kamara, which, was against a bad defense, but New Orleans does look I don't know, they kind of look a little bit broken in my opinion, so I'm not that confident in Kamara, and maybe he's showing his age a little bit. So that's maybe a little bit of a weakness there on that team. But we do know the types of games that he can have. So he does have some tough matchups over the next 5 weeks as well. So maybe he just got his big game there, and we're not going to necessarily see that moving forward. We'll see how it plays out. He had the Pollard luck. I don't want to say luck. I mean, he had Pollard, obviously, no Zeke. Right. Being out, we knew it was a good matchup. Pollard goes off. So that was a little bit of a bonus, I think, for him. Is he going to put up 198 points every single week? I don't think so. Is he going to have some success? Yes, I believe so. So he could go on a little bit of a run here with giving these players. But as we know, it all depends on matchups, right? I mean, it's hard to look ahead 5 weeks on every single player on his team to kind of say, yes, he is going to have explosive games for the next 5 weeks, but good team here with explosion potential as we saw. So it's going to be matchup based, I think.
Yep. Next matchup, I quit Pitts. My team beat BJV. BJV again, kind of bad luck with a pretty good score. Just went against a beast in my team. Jeff, for my team, we finally saw a good game from Pitts. Rest of the season, do you expect us to see more bad games than good, or are we going to see some consistency from him?
No, I would expect to see more bad games than good out of this, honestly. Arthur Blank, the coach here of the Falcons, appears to be committed to running the ball. He showed this 2 weeks ago in the game where they played against Cincy. They were down multiple times by 21 points and still just insisted on running the football. So he's clearly gone out and showed, this is the team. This is how we're going to play. We're going to stay committed to the run, no matter how many points we're down. So, hey, it's great. I have Pitts in my other league. I'm kind of feeling the same pain. I'm rolling with them every single week. It's a shallower bench than ours, though, so I can't even carry a backup. But yeah, I'm riding this one out this season, and I'm definitely looking to avoid moving forward. That's for sure, given this coaching committee and kind of how they're looking to play ball games.
Yep. I agree with you on a lot of that stuff. Landon, for BJV, he had a lot of disappointment in that Cincinnati offense that we thought was going to have a lot of points scored with Boyd, Mixon, and Burrow. Do you think this was a long-term concern where not having Chase, obviously their O-line sucks, but with Chase being out, does it make their offense just fall apart? Or was this just one-off? Cleveland had a really good game and you'd expect them all to bounce back to their sort of season norm the rest of the way?
Yeah, you mentioned the offensive line, and that's what I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about there. I think that's a huge issue for them. So, obviously having Chase not there takes away one of the best weapons in the game, so teams can focus elsewhere. But, yeah, their offensive line is a huge issue, and that was an issue for them last year, and they felt the need to address it this year, and they spent $70 million on 3 different starters this year. And oddly enough, get this stat. They had
you are so screwed with your stats.
A 56
fact that I know.
No, it's so drop those out there. We should probably reference who we get them from, though, right? I mean,
yeah, probably the Twitter sphere.
All right, fair enough.
Last year, they had a 56.9 pass blocking grade according to PFF, so they felt the need to address the issue, and they correct. This year, they're at 58.9, so they are still absolutely horrible.
Wow.
They go against teams that have a good defensive front or defensive line, whatever, that can put some pressure on Burrow. They're going to be in some trouble. So take away Chase, bad offensive line. I think this is a little bit of a concern for them.
Yep. Last matchup, Jeff, your team, nice output. You beat Walter.
Yeah.
I did want to point out this is not a question. I just thought it was funny because I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, that was a great call out.
So Amari Cooper for years was known for having really bad home away splits, where at home, regardless of what his home team was, he dominated, and away he was very bad. And as we see, away game 3.2, away game 1.4, away game 8.9, which is not terrible. And then every home game has been pretty solid. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I don't think I started him in any of his home games. That's what I know.
Funny. I don't think you have either.
I think I started him in all of his away games.
And of course, the second you start him for a home game, it's
you just jinxed it.
Oh, I know. I'm screwed, man. I got to trade this guy now.
What is going on with Swift, though? I think he practiced today. Are you going to play him if he is active this week, or do you need to see him active?
Look, I'm playing him. I'm playing him. The ceiling is too high for this guy. So, if he goes down, then I go down with the ship, basically, at this point.
Okay.
I can't sell him. He's my number one, right? I mean, yeah, I can't sell him right now because he hasn't done anything. I'm not going to get any value back for him. So,
I'll give you James Conner for him right now.
Yeah.
James who?
Yeah,
James Conner.
I'll trade you Eno Benjamin for, I don't know.
Guys, we're not just going right for it.
Anyways.
we could have a podcast for that, though.
Anyways. Held out the additional one. This is so silly. I was reading. I've been following this pretty closely because my team does really need him to have success. Ooh. Thankfully, he fell into the end zone last week. But Dan Campbell said they gave him one too many carries last week. He only had 5 carries in the game. Are you kidding me? So he only needed 4 carries. And then Campbell comes out and says he's feeling better. He's feeling better this week than he was last week. And then he didn't practice yesterday. So I don't know. Did he practice today? I'm really hoping so. But
I thought I saw that he practiced today, but
this is just silly to me.
Landon, even with 2 wins, Walter is only 2 games back in third place. Obviously, there's a lot of teams in between there. What would you say are his odds of making the playoffs?
I would give Walter a 10% chance of making the playoffs right now. It's definitely possible. Any team can go on a run. He does have some good foundational pieces with Higgins, Chubb, CeeDee Lamb, so anything's possible. I don't think, starting 2-6 is tough, but yeah, I'd give it a 10% chance on that one. He's going to beat me this week.
Yeah, McLaurin too. McLaurin's been solid with Heineke stepping in here lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dotson being out. All right, that does it for week 8. Jeff or Landon, do you guys want to do your? I think Landon's kind of given up on the segment.
Yeah. It sucked.
Jeff, do you want to go over wide receiver?
Put in an effort.
I think it was 2 weeks.
Okay. Anyways, here we go. Yeah, wide receiver upgrades this week. We like Justin Jefferson a lot. He's going to be facing off against Kendall Fuller, who's giving up 16.9 yards per catch and has allowed 440 yards and 3 scores, fourth in the league in the yards this year. So he's just going to feast, I believe. Hopkins, love me some Hopkins. I already spoke a little bit about how much zone Seattle's playing. So I do look for him to eat, given that he's kind of the only game in town there. A.J. Brown, how did he do tonight? He was going probably mostly against Stingley. Haven't really looked, but he's the rookie. So, a veteran matchup, big body, I just felt like was going to have a lot of success against a rookie cornerback. Stingley's allowed the 6th most yards in his coverage this season and has averaged 6.3 targets per game as well. So we'll see how that played out. If Lazard plays, so talking about Green Bay here, I love him out of the slot. We talk about this guy every single week, it seems like, but Awame Ogunbiyare, Mane Ogunbiyare.
Nailed it.
He lines up out of the slot. He's just been getting torched. So I don't care who it is, whether it could be Watkins. It could be Sammy Watkins. Like I have Sammy Watkins in Dynasty. I know, but he has one good game every single year. This could be the one game. I'm just saying. So I'm going to roll him out there hoping that he gets that slot work, man. Give it to me. And then Jalen Waddle. I love me some Jalen Waddle this week. It could, I mentioned earlier, it could also be Tyreek Hill. They both kind of go back and forth a little bit between the slot. But who's ever lining up against the slot, going against Kyler Gordon, with no Roquan Smith, I do look to have some success against the Bears this week. Guys, I don't particularly like, okay? I'm not getting too excited about, even if Cooper Kupp sits this one out, I'm not getting excited about Van Jefferson or Allen Robinson. I saw that there are a lot of people maybe looking to pick those guys up off of waivers. I don't think they're going to have much success going against Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis for Tampa. These guys are just balling out of control. They're so tough on the outside. I would look maybe more to the inside to have success. Could be a guy like Skoranek. It could be a guy like Higbee. That if Kupp is not able to go this week, but I do think Kupp continues to roll as usual. DK Metcalf, I don't love DK Metcalf this week in his matchup. Going to be shadowed by Byron Murphy, who's only averaging 9.9 yards per catch this year per game. Last week when he faced Justin Jefferson, he went against him twice. He shadowed Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson 2 times had 2 catches for a total of 15 yards when he played against him. Now, he didn't stay with him the entire game. They did kind of come off him a little bit, but that's all he was able to get off of this guy. So I do look for a shadow going against Metcalf, which would probably mean that Tyler Lockett might have a little bit more success, and he'd be lining up against Marco Wilson. Finally, we talked a little bit about Diggs and Davis. I don't know, whoever, like Sauce Gardner is going to face most likely Diggs, I imagine. And we've talked Sauce Gardner the last few weeks. He has 0 TDs allowed this season. It'll be a really good matchup. If you have Diggs, you're obviously playing him. I'm just saying it's going to be, don't expect the maybe 30-point games that we've seen in the past. On the other side, even DJ Reed, he's only allowing 9.8 yards per catch this season and a 58% catch rate. So that's why it was like when we were talking about Gabe Davis, like I'm not even confident he's going to have much success given that he's the 1B in that offense, right? So that's where I am.
Okay.
Oh, Devontae Adams, one last one.
Nope.
Devontae Adams going against Taysom Campbell. He's only allowed 9.8 yards per catch as well this season and a 58% catch rate. So I don't know. If Adams isn't fully healthy, I mean, he clearly didn't look like it last week. I would look for him to maybe not have nearly as much success. So Bryden's probably screwed again.
Well, I hope so. All of those things sounded great for me. Appreciate that very much. Let's look at Week 9 preview. We will start with Crispy versus Big Tasty. No roster decisions for Big Tasty, so we'll just stick with Crispy, and this will be for both of you guys. If would you start Hawkinson on his new team or Higbee, who started off really hot but has struggled of late?
And I certainly believe that Minnesota is going to look to get Hawkinson involved. I just have this feeling that every time a team gets this new player, it's like the shiny new toy. They want to just rip open the packaging and get him out and play with them a little bit, right? You get him involved, but it's tough when these guys move to new teams to learn the playbooks, learn the schemes. So it's hard to trust a new player once they move in. I would probably look to roll out Higbee in this situation, given Kupp's injury. And I talked a little bit about where I believe the targets will probably most likely be going. I believe that he looks to have a pretty big week here.
Landon, agreed?
No, I completely disagree. I'd go Hawkinson.
He's an idiot.
Okay. Great. Hot take. Who wins this one, guys?
Hot take right there, folks.
Crispy.
Yeah, give me Crispy on this one.
Yep. Ditto. Too much power there. And no one on his team ever gets injured. It's just crazy.
I've never seen any. I've never seen so much luck out of this guy.
Unbelievable. Next matchup.
He's got
Olave
right behind that rabbit's foot. Just tucked up in
Jeff's team. Landon. So I'm going to ask both questions to Landon since, Jeff, I don't expect you to be unbiased. Landon.
Oh, if Pierce would have gotten the end zone. Damn it. God, that would have been a nice day.
Yeah. He did 135, 139 yards.
I know,
that's good.
That's pretty good.
Are you playing
20's better?
Are you playing Brian Robinson over Dobbs or sticking with Dobbs?
I'm going to stick with Dobbs in this matchup.
Play Brian Robinson right now. That guy's trash.
Yeah, they got that committee over there.
They can't run the ball.
Dobbs has got a great matchup.
They can't run the ball, though.
Yep.
And I got the guy who's receiving the ball out of the backfield looking great.
And I was going to ask, and I think Jeff changed it because I had this question, so I'll take the credit. My question initially was, would you have played Gibson or Devonta Smith? At the time, Jeff had Devonta Smith in the flex spot. He switched it, which was a good move since Devonta Smith scored barely anything. So no real questions there. Who do you guys think is going to win this one?
Oh, I'd like Geoff to put a tight end in there. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah. So who are you going to pick up? Wait, let's pause. Should I go to the waivers?
There's a couple guys out there I got my eye on. I just got to figure out the real issue is I got to figure out who I'm going to drop from my team.
That's what I was thinking. Like, are you just not going to play tight end?
Oh, you got to go first.
I was going to see how tonight went. If Pierce got me 25 points, I was willing to maybe roll with that. But I'm kind of waiting to see how this Connor injury plays out a little bit. And then we'll maybe make a decision to drop Eno. But if Eno doesn't go, then I'm holding on to him. He's moving right into the lineup. So it's going to be somebody else, right? It's going to be somebody most likely on bye. Could drop a Pickens. Could drop a Devontae Smith at this point.
You should definitely do that.
Or I picked up Carter, and then maybe I could look to drop him. I mean, he's not going to be somebody I carry
through the end of the season. Keep him on your team.
Yeah.
Drop one of those five guys.
Do you like that?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be one of them. Those are the three guys.
All right, who do you guys got winning this one?
I got Olave.
I'm just going to do with what works. Olave can stay.
Olave.
All right, here we go. Victory number 2, 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Next matchup, Bryden versus I Quit Pitts. Jeff, for my team, so the Monday night game is that Baltimore game. Would you play? I have Drake on the bench and Gus. I don't believe practiced today either. So would you take the risk and play Drake or go with James Robinson against Buffalo?
I don't see Robinson having much success against that Buffalo defense. Both backfields obviously are split, but Gus hamstring injury, it sounds like this is extremely common after an ACL injury. These guys come back after the ACL, and they just seem to be maybe like favoring one side a little bit, so then all of a sudden they pull that hamstring. I've heard a little birdie. It doesn't sound promising like he's going to be playing this weekend, so I'm rolling with Drake. I guess it's a little scary given the committee situation, but Drake looks good out there, man. This was a good pickup by you. He's definitely maximizing his touches, it looks like. So, yeah, I continue to roll the hot hand and Drake there.
Yep.
Don't you want to see it out of Robinson? Don't you want to see it out of Robinson first? Like, given the Michael Carter, he knows the offense. I mean, yeah, I'm sure Robinson's up to speed at this point. Yeah.
So this was my question was I drafted it before Michael Thomas news. He is out for the season. Would you, since he is out, are you going with Hines on his new team or sticking with Thielen against Washington? Currently, Bryden has Thielen in there.
Yeah, I'd stick with Thielen. think with Hines' first game with the team, you don't know what his role is going to be, so I would stick with Thielen in that one. I think he's got a higher ceiling.
Yeah, I'd probably look with Thielen as well. I mean, Hawkinson there now. I mean, he's going to just be probably a decoy, I would imagine, this first week. But then they got Jefferson, and then it's just too many weapons. Cook, too many weapons going against a bad cornerback.
Yep. Who wins this one?
I like Aiyuk Pitts.
No, we're going with the same thing you had.
Yeah, I'd go Bryden.
There's no way I could defeat Bryden. Next match,
good, man.
BJV versus Admore. Admore had a little bit disappointing of a start with Hurts only getting 20 points. Jeff, for BJV, are you going with Tua or Burrow? Burrow, we've kind of seen the rest there. You've been hyping up Tua and or at least the Waddle.
It's splitting hairs. It's splitting hairs between these guys, right? I look at my big board over here on the wall, and I got Joe Burrow as number 5. I got Tua as number 6 this week. So it's really tough. I actually look for Burrow in a good bounce back game at home. I know Tua has a lot of weapons, but he's going to be on the road. I don't know. I really don't. I guess I did say Burrow. I guess maybe go Tua, given the health of this team, and is how I say it's playing out. The question is, like, can Chicago keep the game close enough to where, like, he needs to continue to go out there and throw? But if Tua has success early, he's going to be able to put a lot up there. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's split. It's split.
So I listened to just too many fantasy podcasts, and one of Chris Harris has his podcast. He's very, very smart, but he's annoying as fuck. So all he does is he just pushes back on anybody else's analysis in terms of, like, that's not the way we can't predict these things. He always says that. He did have a good point though, which is these games in which we talk about what the game flow is going to be, and that's how we kind of determine, whether or not we start a running back because we expect them to be up big. Very rarely. I mean, the games, even these blowout games, we're talking about, like, usually 7 points is a huge difference. And to be able to predict that there's going to be such a blowout in the first quarter or second quarter versus kind of what we saw with Houston, where the game stayed close, and at the end, sure, they lose by 12, but that game was really close for most of it. It's very difficult to predict that and to be right about it. So to try to rely on your analysis and your fantasy decisions on whether or not it's going to be a blowout one way or another, or and that type of thing. It's just, I think it's a fool's errand. I think 2 of those probably the right move, just because I think they're going to Chicago will score enough to keep them passing that ball. Is what that comes down to. Landon, for Bino, if Waller is playing, I'm not sure if he's been practicing or not, but would you go with Waller or stick with Taysom, who gives you that sort of high-end upside and a little bit of maybe a lower floor?
Yeah, I'd go with Taysom there. Waller hasn't played since week 4. I just don't think if he is active this week that you can just throw him in. I would give him a week to prove himself. So I'd go with the ceiling of Taysom Hill.
Okay. Who wins this one?
Admore.
Yeah, he's got a lot of depth.
Ditto. Last matchup, Child Please versus
What a joke
Walter.
Start. I knew this was going to freaking happen.
I saw your reaction to this podcast.
Unbelievable. I mean,
he went into this week thinking he was going to get an easy walk-through win. He was like, "Oh, boys, take it easy this week. We're just going to coast in here, pick up a little W, check it on Tuesday, right next to our record. Where we're going to be sitting at a smooth 5-4." Was what he was telling himself already before the games were even been played.
No, I had a bad feeling about this one. I didn't expect a 20 spot from Goddard, but
The good news is Walter doesn't. He he's going to end up playing Chuba, I think, at this point. Jeff, I'm going to ask the question.
Who is back in practice? He's going to get some touches.
Yeah, are you going to go? I'm guessing I know the answer here, but
yeah,
are you going to go with Garrett Wilson, or would you go with Lazard, assuming everything?
Yep, Lazard was the answer there. If he's playing, if he's in, like I got to fire him up for sure. He's the only man that Rodgers really trusts in the receiving game at this point. It looks like.
Yeah.
Yes, for Lannon's team, assuming Taylor doesn't go, are you going to go with Djax or I'm going to butcher? Is it Pacheco?
Yeah, I would roll with Djax there. I mean, personally, I think Zach Moss isn't going to be up really to speed. I mean, sure, handball, see-ball, run ball, you can do that, I guess. But at the same time, they're going to want the guy that knows the offense. So if Taylor's doesn't roll, which, I mean, it doesn't look good for Taylor this week, I would absolutely fire up Djax with all confidence. And we'll just see what happens, see how it plays out.
That's what I would do.
Landon was Kirk on? Kirk wasn't on bye, right?
No, he wasn't. So, yeah, I screwed myself.
Is that trade?
I should have just waited one more week.
Crispy took advantage of it. Oh,
yeah, seriously.
Dirty.
Who wins this one?
Yeah, I got too many players on bye. Danza.
I don't even know. Okay,
Danza?
No way. No, I got to go with Child, please. Here, I love this Jefferson matchup. He's just gonna go bonkers out there.
I'm gonna go.
Lockett,
reverse chase. We're all winning. All right, that does it for this week. Any parting words you guys want to?
Yeah, I got to go dance on that one. Your team's not looking very good, Landon. It's struggle bus right now.
No, Jamar Chase.
That one hurt. 2-0, 3-0. You were on fire.
It was a good start, and it's been
pretty polishing the candy dish. Week 3, he was already polishing that candy dish. Like, I can't wait to get that trophy.
James Conner not playing this whole year. Oh, yeah.
All right, well, that does it for this week. We will see you all next week, and good luck, except if you're going against one of the 3 of us.
For sure.
Smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe. We love our fans.
Smash.
Talk to you soon.
Smash them on.